Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a once great empire. 120 years ago, not long in the overall scheme of things, I guess, but 120 years ago, it was supreme. It had 50% of the world's ships were owned by and run by this empire. The insurance industry was centered on this empire. They had lands and dominions and what would you call it? Far-flung lands all around the world. They were the largest empire in landmass terms that really had ever been seen, and certainly, widespread all across the globe. And it was a saying that this was an empire upon which the sun would never set. That wherever the sun was shining, there was a bit of land that belonged to this empire. They had been the technological leaders of the world for something like 160, 170 years. They were innovators, inventors. They had vast mercantile interests. Their stock market was considered the center of finance in the world. This was truly a great empire, and when they had the jubilee for their queen in 1901, there wasn't a place or a country or a town, city in the world that didn't wish in some way to pay homage to this great empire. And that was, as I say, 120 years ago. And the power of this empire, the position of prime minister of the central nation state of this empire was possibly the most, if not the most, one of the most influential positions in the world. And when the prime minister of this nation spoke, everybody listened. Their power was such that in the 1870s, 1880s, the Christians were being persecuted in the Balkans of what today would be sort of Serbia and Croatia and around there, and it merely required that this nation send a fleet to cruise the coast near where this was happening. And that was enough. That was enough. The message was clearly sent, and the persecution stopped. And the consequences of continuing that persecution were quite clear, given the technology was on display. So this was a truly a great empire. They could land troops anywhere in the world they wished, pretty much, and they were, as I say, at the center of world insurance and finance and shipping and trade and so on. Today, however, that empire has fallen very quickly away. And now, as they're looking at candidates for the prime ministership after the resignation of a very, very disappointing Boris Johnson, who promised much but delivered fuck all. We look at the top 10 candidates, 5 of them are not even British. They're Indian or Pakistani, for goodness sakes. Whatever skills they may bring are very discreet skills. I don't think they bring anything. The globalists have pushed them in there, and they've got Rishi Sunak, for example, comes from a very wealthy family, or possibly through his wife, really, and his in-laws have arranged very cosy, juicy, prestigious jobs for him. He's been to an English private school, so if you close your eyes, he sounds at the first blush to be British, but he's not. None of these contenders, who are the Indians or Pakistanis, none of them are particularly pro-British. I don't doubt that they're pro-globalist, and maybe they'll get a half-decent deal for Britain that the globalists are prepared to offer, but I think that's the extent of it, if they even go that far. They've got no problem with mass migration into Britain of brown and black people. They've got no problem with anything the globalists want to do, and they'd be happy to implement it. And there's a certain sort of revenge factor, I guess, that these Indians and Pakistanis, once part of the British Empire, can now come to the home country and take it over themselves, lord it over those damn white peasants. The other contenders are, there's one white male there who's behaves like a pansy, for goodness sakes, and he seems more than keen to sell out his fellow citizens for the globalists. Another one doesn't seem very bright, plays around with being patriotic, but I doubt it. Some of the women contenders there are two of them are moronic almost, and you've got to wonder how they made it off the refund desk at Kmart or Walmart or something like that. But there they are, pretending to be high-powered individuals, but having listened to them being interviewed and listened to their views on things, I certainly wouldn't even dream of employing them for the sort of jobs they've been in, certainly not for the prime ministership. So really, there's if you look at the alleged top 10 contenders, there's only one that comes across as being the least worst and possibly the most patriotic or nationalist. Now, to be nationalist today, the globalist media will call you a Nazi and a fascist and all that sort of thing. That's their immediate sort of reflex response. But they're a nationalist is what Britain needs. The borders need to close. All the people that arrived illegally need to be evicted, and the laws and the Parliament can do this if they want to. The Parliament is the legislative body that makes these decisions. The laws can be changed. I mean, they're quick enough to change laws in anything they want to, anything. But for some reason, they can't change the laws to evict illegal aliens. It's too hard. The court, the human rights court, we don't know. We have to do what the courts say. Yeah, sure you do. You can change the law at any time you want to. You can declare somebody who makes a mean tweet as being a racist and has to go to prison. You can do that without a problem, but you can't evict illegal aliens. No, don't buy it. So it needs a prime minister, in my view, that says Green New Deal. No. As soon as the technology is available to replace fossil fuel, fine. There's no problem with that. When the technology is there, great. Let's use it then. That technology is more cost effective than fossil fuels, then we'll change at that time, and there's nothing wrong with that. In terms of illegal aliens arriving, no, that stops. It stops today, and any that are here will be evicted, and any immigrants who've committed serious crimes, they and their families will similarly be evicted. They can reapply if they want, but and anyone that wants to come to the United Kingdom, or for that matter any Western country, must speak the relevant language well and must have recognisable skills that can be used and are used in the economy. So it's not a big ask. That's all I have to do on, and those are the big ticket issues. And if they do that, then as far as the British people are concerned, many of the problems will be solved. Now, but that's unlikely to happen. Those that the globalists don't control already will be brought under control. And it's not that hard to turn people and say, look, you're the prime minister or you're a senior official in the government. We can fix it. So the globalists, the big banks say, we can fix it so you live in prime real estate. You will never have to worry about money again. You'll never need to work again. You'll never have to worry about money again. And so we can look after you. You just have to deliver the policies that we want and vote for what we want. So that's it's not hard to get at people, particularly the sort of low quality folks that are in Parliament these days. None of these people could achieve anything in their own right. None of them. So they're very easy pickings for the globalists, because these people know that if they had to go and make it on their own out in the world, they'd live a very ordinary lifestyle. They've got no chance of living in the nice suburbs, driving the nice cars, having the fancy holidays, wearing the $10,000 suits and so on, that they know they can't do it or come anywhere near it. And the globalists are able to dangle that sort of lifestyle in front of them, and they go down like a sack of shit. So it's not hard to get to these people. But if it's a high quality, high achieving person who's a nationalist and believes in themselves and what they're doing, what they can achieve, it's much, much harder for the globalists to get to them, assuming they don't have any, sexual peccadillos that can be exploited or something like that. So, but it's one of great sadness, in my view, great sadness that a once mighty empire in modern history. We're not talking about some ancient Babylonian empire from 5,000 years ago. We're talking in recent modern history. This once great empire is now just rolling around in the dirt. With just bullshit contenders for the prime ministership. The once most powerful position in the world, 130, 140 years ago, is now something that not even a local British person with heritage in Britain, half of the people don't even have that are contenders, and none of them should be in Parliament in the first place. I believe the law needs to be changed. So if your grandparents weren't born in Britain or in that particular country, if your grandparents weren't born there, if your parents weren't born there, then you can't stand for public office. That should be my view, and that would change to a large extent, not completely. That would change the complexion of people and increase the likelihood that nationalists who care about Britain, care about the British people, care about British citizens are elected. Because at the moment they're just a globalist fucking cabal. They don't give a flying fuck about Britain and the British people, and that's the situation that Britain finds itself in now as it scrambles around in the dirt for some two-bit, half-assed, low IQ fucking prime minister. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.